We're going to head on over to the West now and figure out who is finishing where in the Western Conference. So I will again start with mine and give you my reasonings and my predictions, and then we'll transition to Connors. So I've actually covered Connors. I don't know what his is, so this is completely blind. In 15, I've got Vancouver. In 14, I've got Portland. In 13, I've got SKC. In 12th, I have Houston. In 11th, I've got FC Dallas. In 10th, I've got Colorado. In ninth, I've got San Jose. In 8th, I've got Austin. In 7th, I've got RSL. In 6th, I have San Diego. That's right. In 5th, I've got Minnesota. In 4th, I've got St. Louis. In 3rd, I've got LA Galaxy. In 2nd, I've got LAFC. And in 1st, I've got Seattle. So let's go through this really quick. Vancouver is one of the first teams we covered. They're in Champions Cup. They've lost Vanni Sartini, so they've lost that little manager spark that they get with all of his quotes. But they also feel like they are just a team that is missing a second layer, right? You've got Brian White, you've got Ryan Gall, no doubt, right? Those guys are killers, but who's the second option? And I'm not sure that they're going to be bringing anybody in because of the issues that they're in. Now they did add Emmanuel Savi and Daniel Rios. That is kind of the unknown here. Daniel Rios did score 10 times for Atlanta last year, but we know that he has been hot and cold, so we'll see how he can get on. I also don't love the back line. I think that they are, outside of Veselinovic, I think they're okay. Takaoka is either good or really, really bad, and they're a bunch of unknowns. So 15 may be harsh, but that's where I've got them. Portland at 14. I don't know if DaCosta is going to be an Evander replacement, and if he's not a direct replacement, that's a lot of goals that they are leaving on the table. Plus, that back line has not gotten any better since last year, where they gave up a ton of them. They're going to play MLS 4.0 again, and we'll see how it goes, but I don't have faith in that. Sporting KC at 13 is one that I again, it's all a lot of these are coach based, right? I'm not thrilled, obviously, with Peter Vermees in there. I don't like John Polskamp as the or I like John Polskamp as a goalkeeper there, but I don't like the back line in front of him. Three center backs on roster. Well, technically four with Ian James at 16, right? Jake Davis, who may play right back, may play center mid. You might have Kyrie Shelton playing out that way. The addition of Joveljic is interesting, but I don't know how he gets on here because I think Joveljic benefited really, really well from having Puig, Peck, Paintsel around him. He doesn't have that here, so I'm not so sure how he's going to get on with that. Now, Manu Garcia is a good addition as well. Shoppy might be good, might not be good, don't know yet. But again, it's that defensive part that I'm just not thrilled with this group. Benny Ball in Houston, losing Mikael is kind of the big one for me. I'm not thrilled on their team. I don't like Andrew Tarbell in goal, and I know people have tried to talk me out of that for a while. He's not number one quality to me, and I hope I'm proven wrong because I like my friends in Houston. And I think that they deserve to be good again. But if Mikael does go, and you got Tarbell, Sviatchenko, and then either Bartlow or Steres, not ideal. Still missing a left back according to Transfer Market, so we'll see how that gets on. I like the idea of having Eric Duenas and Jack McGlynn to play possession based, and it's going to really come down to Ponce and Aliu to see if they can kick that into another gear. But it just feels like it's not going to come together on the defensive end, and that's what's going to let them down. Dallas is the same way, right? New coach bump is going to be fun, but unproven center backs, right, which is a difficult position to get right in this league because it's not like every other league. They did sign a couple, which is exciting because when we had our conversation with Jose, I think they had three total, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they go, but I'm just not thrilled on the back line situation. Excited for Musa and then of course Luciano Acosta, but I'm just not thrilled on the rest of it, right? Is Ramiro and Sebastian Lletget or Patrickson Delgado and Show, you know, there's just something that doesn't feel right about Dallas, and it's felt that way for a while. And I think again, it starts in the back line. Martin Paez is going to have to stand on his head to be something really, really special. We then go to Colorado, which is the first team out of this play-in game, playoff game, and it's simply that I think they're just going to fall short. I've got 9 teams ahead of them that I think are going to beat them out. And I think that they're going to be in contention up until the last day. But I feel like this is a team, especially with a Chris Armas second year bump, which has always been not so good. I think that Colorado drops off. I've got San Jose at 9 because I like I don't bet against Bruce Arena. However, I think that bringing in a majority back line from New England, who only gave up 6 goals less than you last year, who, when you set the goals against record in the league, I think is a tough ask. So I think they're going to score. I think they're going to be like Portland. They're going to score a lot of goals. They're going to concede a lot of goals. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, but it's also not going to be very long-term effective. So I've got them in 9, just sneaking in, and Austin is in 8, and it's very, very similar, right? I think Brad Stuver is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I love the additions that they've made in the attack, but I think really what they're going to be missing is a Sebastian Driussi replacement, right? And I think that they will be able to survive without him because they've got a lot of quality around that. But I don't think that it's enough to put him in the top yet. So I think they're one more season away from the top. Okay, RSL at 7. This one, I had my I had my opinions changed by Matty Casey. I had them out of the playoffs and I had them low, but there were a lot of moves that they made in the summer of last season that they're banking on paying off. And I think they do. I like Gonçalves as somebody who can really have a good season. Marschuk is somebody who we are being told to keep an eye on, even by the Real Salt Lake TikTok account. So can't hate that. Cabral is supposed to be a solid goalkeeper option for them. They're still relatively strong in the back. Left back is going to be fine. Right back is going to be fine. Emeka Anelli can fill in. I think he's going to be really, really good. And the return of Pablo Ruiz, and that's a hint for later on, but he was such a good central midfielder that he is going to be a huge piece when they come back. And then again, you've got players who are unproven, but still have the opportunity to be something really, really big. And they can still go out and add in the summer of next year. So I'm kind of banking on that. Then you got San Diego at 6, and I was talking about this on the Goals TV channel, but San Diego at 6 for me is a good spot. I think their attack is very, very deadly. They've got a solid midfield both in creativity and in defensive balance. It's the back line that worries me, but I do feel like they're going to have enough to pick up points in games against teams like Vancouver, Portland, Kansas City, Dallas. I think they're going to be able to pick up points in those games that are going to boost them up the standings. So I have them in 6th place. Minnesota at 5, I think, is just a safe pick, right? They're relatively solid all the way around. The back line is maybe a little iffy, but other than that, I think this is a team that should be competing for the top 4 and just missing out. And we said that in our preview as well, right? This is a team that I would not be, I don't think it'd be crazy that half the season they're in the 1, 2, 3, 4 conversation, and then by the end of the year they're just slipping out of that. St. Louis is going to have a big bounce back, I believe. I think that they overperformed in 23. They very much underperformed in 24. And now not only are they going to come back to the level that they are, but that level has been raised with the additions they've made and the coaching change that they've made. I think that St. Louis is due for a really, really good year, and I'm excited for that. The Galaxy was a tough one for me to place. I wanted to put them lower, but I was kind of convinced out of it. They obviously Ricky Puig is such a big part of that team, and that was not a surprise to anybody. Without him here, I think that there are a lot of people that can step up into his position, right? Marco Reus can go in, Fagundes can go in. Like there are tons of people who can do that. Sanabria even. But the problem is, I think it's going to take them long enough to figure out how to get that done, where that then becomes an issue for their long-term success, right? They're going to take so long to figure out what's the right combination. It's going to hurt them. And I don't think it's going to take super long, but to be long enough where they won't be able to finish 1 or 2. They're going to have to drop out. That brings me then to LAFC, which is another tough one because they moved on from a lot of players, but I do think that somebody like Giroud is going to have a very good year this year. I think if he doesn't, Jeremy Ebobisse is another great addition, and I'm not worried at all about his contributions there. I think we're ready to see a really big breakout from David Martinez. The only problem that I see is that they are a little thin right now in the attack now that they've sold on a couple players, namely, right, Oliveira, right, in that wide area. So it'll be interesting to see how they change this group, but I do think they've added well to be a bit more sound in other areas in the defense, specifically defensive midfield and in the defense. So if they can get enough creativity out of players like Tillman and Bouanga in transition and Martinez and get a Ebobisse or Giroud firing, I think they have enough to still be a top 4 team. And then that brings me to Seattle, who I think is just going to be very, very strong this year. I think they're going to push a lot of teams around with their what I would assume to be basic style, yet something that is still exciting to watch, right? You're going to have the Morris, the Ferreira, the Rusnak kind of trio up there. And then what do you do after that, right? You've got Paul Rothrack, George Monungo, you've got Paul Arriola if you want to add him into that mix. But I do think they've got enough wrinkles. And again, best team defensively in the West, best team in the league defensively last year, and they didn't lose anybody from that group. Jackson Reagan ready for a big year. It is going to be tough to beat Seattle this year, so I've got them in the number one spot. Connor sees things relatively similarly, but not perfectly. So let's chat about it. He's got Sporting KC in 15, RSL in 14, Colorado in 13, San Jose in 12, Austin at 11. He's got San Diego missing the playoffs in 10, Dallas in ninth, Portland at 8, Vancouver at 7, the Galaxy at 6, Minnesota at 5, St. Louis at 4, Houston at 3, the Sounders at 2, and LAFC at 1. So very similar in terms of the top four outside of Houston. He's got Houston very, very high, building on to the Benny Ball prediction. The other big differences, right? We both have St. Louis, Minnesota 4-5, Seattle Sounders, LAFC in the 1-2 role. He's got the Galaxy low. I'm assuming he's banking on Puig being out, hurting them a lot more. He's also got San Diego missing. We were talking about that a little bit, being very, very tough to place, and I agree with him. It is tough to place, but we're gonna have to agree to disagree there. I talked about RSL. He was not on that preview, so I would believe I had RSL in that position originally, and then I had my mind changed. So I think if he was on that, he would have changed as well. Austin getting in versus just missing out for me. He's got San Jose straight out while I've got San Jose into the play-in game. Again, maybe he's not riding the Bruce high. I don't know. Maybe he's really banking on that back line not to be so good. We both have Colorado missing. He's got Dallas in the play-in game. I have him just missing out. That's not too bad. We talked about Houston, SKC. He's got Vancouver up at 7. That's another big one. It'll be interesting to see. And I think one of the big things for us was like there's a lot of uncertainty there, and the players might not be motivated to play as hard as they may have in other scenarios. So it'll be very interesting to see how that gets on. But yeah, we're similar in some, but we're way off on others. So that's going to make the West really fun to watch from the designated players and MLS podcasts. So